All right, everybody, welcome to the Internet Sports Broadcast Network, where a bunch of friends just sit around the kitchen table, talk sports, have fun. And tonight we have absolutely no idea what we're talking about. We just discussed that for 20 minutes in our production meeting because we're all been distracted by the world, all the crap going on. And so tonight, what we thought we'd do is go through the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL all time, top 10 quarterbacks college all time, top 10 baseball players all time, maybe top 10 basketball players all time in pro. Anybody, it'll be funny, guys, because, and by the way, welcome. Say hi, Donovan.
Hello.
Welcome, Donovan Hughes, Todd Frank.
Yes, sir.
And myself, Freddie Burke, the host, and Smooth Dave is in a meeting tonight. Can't be on with us. He'll be back next week. So, guys, this could be really tough, right? Because we know there's more great quarterbacks in 10 in any sport, but just to narrow it down and have some fun with this would be kind of cool. So let's jump off with my friend Don. And by the way, we're all on camera, but you guys will see the audio part of the show. So we're not going to show ourselves, but you guys get the audio portion on Internet Sports Broadcast Network. Donovan, let's start, man. Let's start with pro.
Who's the GOAT?
All time.
Who's the GOAT?
Well, I'll start then, or if you want to.
I know who the GOAT is.
Right.
It's Tom Brady, and there's not even anything.
Oh, okay. So you think he's number one? Okay, I'm getting my pen out here. Just want to take notes so I don't double track you. So Tom Brady's number one.
And it was and my deal for him is he was number two until a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago. Montana was the best all time to me.
Okay, so you got Tom Brady as number one?
I do. Montana 2, 1A, 1B. I mean, those are by far, I think they've separated themselves.
Now, would you consider those greatest quarterbacks in top 10 in the new era of how football played compared to the past? So if I were to throw somebody's name in like Joe Namath.
No, not even close.
Bart Starr.
That's a better. Yeah.
What about Rodgers? Staubach?
Rodgers Staubach.
Yeah, he's top 10.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Nah.
Top 15, 20.
Yeah, I'd say outside the top 10, right?
Yeah.
So, but okay. So far I've got a Tom Brady, Montana, Bart Starr, Roger Staubach. How about Troy Aikman? 3 Super Bowls.
Troy Aikman with 3 Super Bowls. I would say top 6.
Terry Bradshaw.
Definitely.
Stats were crap. He barely threw
Okay,
over
so how many
50%.
Super Bowls did he win?
He won, I know 3 or 4, right?
Right. So, you're talking about top 10 quarterbacks of all time.
Right, quarterbacks.
And they seem to go with are we including that they win a lot of Super Bowls? Because Dan Marino could be in that conversation too, and he hadn't win nothing.
Dan Marino's probably top 4, top 5.
So I guess it's all relative to the criteria that you're judging what makes, the top 10.
Yeah. I mean,
Because they could have
supporting cast.
We're actually just talking fun because we have nothing else to talk about because there's no live sports except golf. Okay, so we're just putting our thoughts in place and running through these, and maybe we'll whittle down who in the order that they go to that we think. But okay, so Dan Marino, Dan Fouts.
Dan Fouts, man, he threw for more yards than anybody. Top 7, 8.
Yeah.
Never made a Super Bowl. Never didn't win one. Obviously.
Right. And I'm thinking, how about Frank Tarkington?
Wow. He was like the he had in his era he had the most yards and rushing and passing.
Yeah, but he wasn't really good on TV though.
Yeah, he was. That's incredible, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that incredible.
I just remember as a kid watching Minnesota with him that you were always. I remember if you had a team that played them, you were always nervous playing Minnesota because he was one of the few quarterbacks that actually ran and messed up defenses and killed you. with short dunk passes and then running the football, and he runs circles around the backfield. I mean, he's distinctly remembered by me in my mind. So that's why I brought him up. So
Absolutely.
What about Johnny Unitas?
So Johnny Unitas, in his era, you have to give him. He was the best quarterback for probably 7 or 8 years in the NFL. When it was the AFL and the NFL, right? And then they merged, or was it I can't remember. But he was. I mean, of course, Joe Namath did the whole thing with his predicting the Super Bowl when they finally played Johnny Unitas. But Johnny Unitas was already on the back end of his career.
Right. But he was awful good.
Oh, he was great for, I guess, 8 to 10 years. I mean,
right.
Yeah. So he's up there. He's top 10, 15.
How about Sonny Jerkinson when he played for the Redskins?
No. Top
Brett Favre?
200. Top Brett Favre?
Didn't mean to bring him up after, but what he did. But
we're talking about football, not anything.
I understand. I'm just saying. Yeah. I thought he made a difference, a huge difference. I mean,
he was a gunslinger.
Yeah.
And he cost his team a couple Super Bowls, and he got them to a couple Super Bowls.
Yep.
And so he's a gunslinger. I'd say top 20 quarterback.
Yeah, I would too. I'm thinking. I keep naming some other quarterbacks. We've got just to run through the list.
What about Elway?
I'm about to say there's a
John Elway.
John Elway.
Yeah. We probably could have done top 20 and then have a top like 50. Outside of that 20, right? If you think about it, because there's too many good quarterbacks. But if you whittle it down to just the top 10. Well, we'll go back through this list in a minute. Think
about this name, Warren Moon.
Yeah, well,
you're talking about.
I was getting ready.
You're talking about somebody who threw for more yards than I'd say pretty much. I think he's 4th or 5th on the list. I think of total yards, unless it's been passed. But he was up there in the top 5 for a long time, and unfortunately, he had a couple of bad breaks and didn't get Houston into the big game, but it is what it is. But I thought he was a great quarterback, where he could sling it. So.
Todd, is that rattlesnake dead or alive?
No, it's a live rattlesnake.
Todd.
I figured it'd be kind of fun, to do a sports show on
exotic Todd.
There you go.
By the way, we're on camera, and Todd's got a bucket with a big giant freaking rattlesnake in it that's staring at him,
nice
waiting for him to stick his hand down there so he can bite him and introduce himself to the world.
I've been so bored. I'm coming up with new sports.
That's okay. Hey, rattlesnake catching's not a new sport in Texas.
Look,
you can go out there anyhow with a can of gas and a little breeder thing and stick it under a rock and get bit anytime you want.
You could put Mike Tyson. You could put Mike Tyson in a room with the sword. You put a rattlesnake in a room, and I'll fight Mike Tyson without a weapon to the death.
Yeah.
Before you put me in there with that freaking snake, and I'll tell you what, I'll drop a baby and run.
By the way, guys, we are looking at a very, very large, looks like what I would consider to be a very angry rattlesnake staring up in the bucket. Like, just go ahead and stick your freaking hand down here now.
The head's about the size of
and that snake is about 5 foot long. So if he struck however close you are, couldn't he nail you right there, Tom?
Oh yeah, right upside his head.
He could nail you right there, right now. Boom. Okay, yeah, I'm with you, Donovan.
No,
I'll get knocked out in the first round, the first punch before I do that.
Yeah.
No rattlesnake hunts for me or you. All right.
Every day and twice on Sunday.
Yep. All right, guys. Wally Moon, John Elway, Ferguson. Who played for Philadelphia? Theismann.
Washington. Yeah.
Joe Theismann.
Theismann. Yeah. Theismann. There are facilitators. And he was
what made Washington so good with him leading was they had a great running back.
Riggins.
They had great Hogs, and they had great running backs. And so when you have great running backs and great running teams, your quarterback can look really good, right?
That's when we're talking about the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Right.
Not the best quarterback facilitators for a great
Of course,
team.
you could throw in Mahomes and some of these other guys, but let's give them time to go through their career, right? We're talking about past guys. We're talking about past guys and guys that have already been through their season.
Well, if we've got Tom Brady in the mix, I mean, what about Aaron Rodgers?
Well, yeah, he's definitely up there.
I mean, he's near the end of his career, but man, that's been one hell of a career.
Oh yeah, he's still going. So but he's won one Super Bowl or two? I think it's just one, right?
I have to look it up, but
I think it's one.
But the fact he's a game changer as a quarterback, I mean he is from a throwing standpoint and from leading a team. He's been around. He does a good job,
Him and Dan Marino are the two arms that I marvel at in accuracy.
Yeah, you couldn't wait to watch those guys play, even if you were on a team that you're rooting against them. I mean,
they can sling it.
How about John? How about McMahon?
No,
he was just really good
for
Chicago.
He's a good leader,
right?
Now that's
while we're talking about great quarterbacks that never got to the Super Bowl, what about Drew Brees?
Oh God,
he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Did they? When?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
They won the year that there was Katrina.
Yeah.
2005 or not 2005, 2015.
Well, he leads the league in just about every record in passing, so you can't pass him up from a quarterback stand. He's in
by
the
far
top 10. He's the top 10. Yeah. We're gonna nail this down.
Top 10.
If you guys can think of any more quarterbacks before we start drilling this list down to get our top 10, what we think is between us, right? It's our opinion. By the way, it's our opinion. We're not picking this out of some book. We're just telling you what we think. So don't get the troll on us when we put this up on the podcast. If you don't like our choices, you can start your own internet show and do what we do.
You can troll us. We're just being honest.
We're just telling you how we feel.
I mean,
if
they have such a problem, they just meet up with us and we'll bring the rattlesnake.
God, yeah.
How about Ryan?
No. Ryan.
I'm going through all the teams in my head and trying to think who they have now and who they had in the past that we really miss.
How
about Stabler?
Kenny Stabler. You know what?
He was so good for the Oakland Raiders. I mean,
he was. Well, I thought Jim Plunkett was actually a better quarterback than him.
There you go, another one.
I mean, but
the snake, and speaking of the snake and Plunkett, yeah.
I mean, and I had to say this, but he's probably the ugliest quarterback.
How about Steve Young? What about Steve Young?
We got to agree.
The ugliest. We can put the ugliest quarterback in line.
The ugliest quarterback.
You had to have a special helmet for him. I mean, I'm sorry. I
don't care. I don't care. No, that's fine.
So my grandmother hated.
You're only saying that because it's true.
That's true. But my grandmother hated the Raiders, and she hated John Madden so bad. And so I remember watching games, and her like, I can't stand the Raiders. I can't stand John Madden. So it's even from when I was a kid,
Well, regardless, I mean, that name just popped up in my head because I remember him throwing to Bolitnikoff, and that was quite a tag team from thrower to receiver, right?
When they get all the glue off his hands.
Yeah, when all the stickum was outlawed and everything, because he fell down and couldn't get up.
He couldn't get the ball off his hand.
Hey, look, the field's coming up with my hands.
Yeah, the snake. Yeah, Kenny Stabler was fun to watch. A lefty. He was something else.
Southpaw. Yeah. All right. Any other quarterbacks y'all could think of before we nail down this list?
No.
All right, so let's go back and let's work really hard and quickly to get our top 10 so we can go to college.
Okay.
That'll be fun college.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
my God, tons of people. But
That
okay,
opens
so
up a big
so
Pandora's box. Yeah.
I am in agreement that I think that because there's like 6 Super Bowl championships under his belt,
Tom Brady.
I think you have to write down Tom Brady. All right, number 2.
Montana, not even close.
And he was unbelievable, Montana. Writing it down. All right, and the next choices after that are Troy Aikman, Dan Marino, Bart Starr, Dan Phelps, Frank
And
Tarkington, Johnny
You know-
Unitas, Brett Favre,
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees, John Elway, Warren Moon.
I got to tell you, I think John Elway or Marino should end up right there. I mean, Marino had the stats. Elway had the hardware, 2 Super Bowls, but Elway had a lot of yards too. He could run. He was just a great athlete all the way around.
So Tom Brady, Montana, John Elway, and then who did you say you wanted to be 4th? Dan Marino?
I'm saying they're both in that same kind of. I mean, you could put Johnny U there. I mean, this is when it starts getting.
Well, I
really
think
hard.
I think now for number 5 you got to go with Roger Staubach. Staubach.
I mean, yeah. I mean, sure.
And where's Troy Aikman fit in this? 3-time Super Bowl winner.
Jeez. I mean, it's hard. Now, hold on. It's hard for me to put.
Maybe number 10 for him.
Yeah, but man, three Super Bowls.
And he's popular, and he was great, and everybody loved him, and he was a leader, and he was.
But he's one of the most accurate passers.
I mean, he had the most concussions. We can put him in that top 10.
Damn. Yeah, you're right.
And Roger too. That's what got them. That's what ended their careers, actually.
Roger the Dodger. Yeah. I think Drew Brees needs to be up there, probably 7th or 8th, 9th.
All right. Well, okay. So let's reserve. Let's look at this list because we're on number 5. Our last pick was Rodgers, so that's Tom Brady, Montana, John Elway, Dan Marino, and then Roger, right? Staubach.
That's top 5.
That's
so
top
that's 5.
So now we're working on 6 through 10. And you've got some great choices here. So things like Frank Tarkington, Johnny Unitas. How can you not have Johnny Unitas in the top, not have him in top 10? Because everybody talks football, talks about Johnny Unitas.
And Bart Starr, too.
And Bart Starr.
Yeah. I mean, those. Yeah. I mean, those. Damn. But I didn't get to see either one of them play.
Well, you can go on YouTube and look up some videos on them and just see how cool they were. Because Johnny Unitas played in those days, and so did Bart Starr, where there was no quarterback protection. There wasn't the safety rules they had today. They had to go into those games and just get hammered, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so they still showed up and played great football. So, Todd, what do you think?
I think the top 5 are the most important, and then from there, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter?
Yeah.
Okay. So Troy Aikman maybe number 8?
Yeah.
And then I'll run through our list. And then you've got people like John Elway.
He's got to be in the top 10.
Okay, number 9.
He does. With his stats.
I agree. And Drew Brees, or are you going to pick because Drew Brees just leads in so many categories as a quarterback, but you know who I don't have in there? Well, I do. Dan Phelps.
Yeah.
Warren Moon, Aaron Rodgers.
Well, Aaron, so here's the deal. Okay, so Marino, I'm okay with putting Marino in there in the top 10 without having.
Okay, well, Marino. Okay, Dan Marino.
Won a Super Bowl.
Right.
So when you start doing side by sides, and then one has won a Super Bowl and one hasn't,
Well, if you did, we could have we could have said top 10 quarterbacks that won a Super Bowl.
Right.
Right. And then we could then we could have done a top 10 without Super Bowl. Right. So we're just giving you what we think our best top 10 was, period. Because Dan Marino didn't win anything, but he's still a great quarterback. The guy was a monster.
He was
thrower.
Amazing. Yeah.
Especially in a league that didn't throw.
Yeah.
Back
he
then.
was a
it was
pioneer.
all, and he had some good running backs under his belt too back then too. So, Bob Greasy.
Jeez.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that till I just said that. Jim Kick and Zonka in the backfield.
Yeah.
And weren't they undefeated? No, that's the Redskins. That was the Redskins. No, that was
it was the Dolphins.
That was the Dolphins with Bob Greasy.
Was him. It was. Yep. Yes, it was. And still they just haven't beaten them.
I just looked up, saw Todd's putting pictures up of the.
Yeah.
He's
you got to just.
All right, so let's run through this, okay? Let's just kind of say this is it. We're going to get some opinions on it. No big deal. This is just, we know we should have done a little different way, but just for the record, Tom Brady, Montana, John Elway. Who else do I have on there? I can't read my own writing. What's in that suck? Dan Marino, Rodgers Staubach, can't ever say that. Johnny Unitas, Brett Starr, Troy Aikman, John Elway, and Aaron Rodgers are a toss-up to maybe Dan Phelps there too.
I would say Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, because of that. All right, so that's our top 10. And I'll post that. I'll post that inside the description on YouTube just to see what kind of reaction we get.
Well, yeah.
So college would be fairly simple, I think, because you could just go to the Heisman Trophy winners list for the past 20 years. No,
negative Batman.
I agree with you. So that's why I said that. Okay, so let's move on to college and give it our best shot and start. Let's just make a list first of anybody you can think of. And I'll start with one, Pat Sullivan from Auburn back in the day.
Okay, yeah.
Cam Newton.
Vince Young.
Colt McCoy.
No, he's not in the top 10.
Start thinking of something on the West Coast. USC put
No,
out some great quarterback. Peyton Manning of Tennessee.
Didn't win a national championship, but was amazing.
He was amazing in Tennessee.
Let's go. Roger Staubach at Navy.
Yeah.
I mean, he won a Heisman Trophy, but he actually produced when he got in the NFL. Most of the Heisman Trophy winners don't do anything.
Right. Get me into Big Ten. Get me into the West Coast. USC, UCLA. Troy Aikman was a great college, but I didn't know who Troy Aikman was till he got recruited by Dallas, quite frankly. I knew he was good, but you didn't keep up with it because the football was segmented regionally on TV because you didn't have all these cable stations, so you only really knew the teams in your area, right?
I'm gonna throw a name. I'm gonna throw a name out. Jamal Holloway for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And I hated him, but he was
really good.
Amazing. He was amazing. Yeah. I give props to, that the way it goes.
What was the quarterback's name for USC that played against Texas? Steve
Matt Leinart?
Matt, yeah.
Well, yeah, Heisman Trophy winner. He was.
How about the guy who plays for Cleveland? I'm kidding.
Don't pull me in. Don't even think about it. You're out of your mind. There are so many expletives I want to say to you right now. There is not even in the top 300. Don't even go there. Flash in the pan. No. No.
He's young. He'll get it figured out.
Dang.
He's got nowhere to go except for up.
Steve Young. We said Vince Young. Who else?
Oh, man.
There's been some great quarterbacks out of Alabama. I'm trying to think of past
Well,
quarterbacks.
I mean, Joe Namath was a great
Joe
quarterback.
Joe Namath.
He was a great quarterback. Kenny Stabler was a great quarterback at Alabama. I mean, both of them they both won national championships, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe we're not as up to speed on quarterbacks from college as we were on pro. I'm just trying to think back to
here's
some
the
of the
deal.
older guys too. But
That's what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to go back so that I'm being fair. I can tell you in the last 20 years who the best quarterbacks have been, but I'm trying to give a fair shake because
no, don't give us a fair shake. Just throw them out there because I'm with you. This is tougher than the pro because there's so many college football teams that had excellent quarterbacks, right? Maybe not even made it to the pros, but did awesome things for their football team.
Jameis Winston was a great college quarterback. I mean, great.
So was Marshall for Auburn.
Michael Vick was one of the most electric college players I've
that's
ever
who
seen.
I was trying to think of in pro when he played for Atlanta because he made such a big difference, but he wasn't like a top 10 because he shortened his career by getting in trouble, right? And then coming back. But yeah, he was great in college. I'm trying to think of some of these Big Ten quarterbacks that used to throw that were really good. So anyhow, we're not so good on this.
Not as good. Let's do a top 5. How about that?
All right, top 5. So let's do it real quick before we get to baseball. Okay. That'll be fun. Baseball is going to be we'll talk about it in a minute. So top 5, Donovan. Let's put our list down so the trolls can just criticize us still on YouTube. So who's number 1? Who's the best quarterback that we think from college football days?
Okay, and this is my argument. Okay, I think the 2 best in the last 20 years in college was probably Matt Leinart and Vince Young. Vince Young won head-to-head, so I have to go with Vince Young. He is the best quarterback I've ever seen in college, period. He did well his rookie year, first couple of years in the league, and then some things happened, and it didn't work out for him. Leinart really never did anything in the pros. But those 2 were the best college players. I thought Leinart was a great leader for one. He came back for his senior year after he won the Heisman.
Yeah.
And almost and in any other year that you didn't have, Reggie Bush if Reggie Bush didn't exist, he would have won a Heisman again.
Yeah.
Because of all the voters, because they split a lot of the votes.
Agreed.
So but those 2 are my top. Manning was probably the passing wise. I've never seen a passer like Manning
in Tennessee. Yeah.
At Tennessee.
Yeah.
And he didn't win a national championship, but I mean, man, he was amazing.
Yeah, but he carried over his growth and what he learned in the pros, and look what he did. So all it was Tennessee was kind of the beginnings of his testing grounds as he got better and better.
Yeah.
So just because he didn't lead them, remember he was in the SEC too, and you were always competing against Auburn, Alabama, the big Florida, and so to win divisions and national championships back in those days wasn't easy because you had to go through that stupid SEC, which one wasn't East and West back then. It was all one freaking big conference, right? So you had to win every game. But I liked him.
T. Martin won the national championship the next year.
Yep, exactly.
So did y'all put down Tim Tebow?
Man, you know what?
I think Tim Tebow probably number 3 just because everybody knows who he is. They realized how good he was. He didn't work out to be in the pros, but he's an athlete and he's a darn good person, and he did a great. He impacted the way that quarterbacks were used after that.
Yep.
So he kind of changed philosophies for coaches, didn't they? They started getting these quarterbacks that could run a little bit and putting them and getting them into the offense instead of just throwing and handing off. So I see that. Okay.
Manning's got to be
I've got Manning at number 2. I got Manning at number 2. And I think Tim Tebow is a good pick for number 3, just because when he said it, automatically went, yeah, that's a good guy to have up there. So
Matt Liner's got to be up there.
I got him just tied with Vince Young at number 1 because I can't separate those two.
Okay.
But, I mean,
well, I'm just saying.
He won 2
even though Vince Young beat them that in that game, it was down to the wire, and Matt Liner was doing his thing just as well as Vince was doing his thing. It's just that Texas, just had the motivation to win the game in the last 2 minutes or 10 seconds or whatever. So it couldn't be stopped. I'll put it that way. All right. So number 4, I'll throw a name out. And there's a lot better quarterback. I mean, you've got people like Joe Namath, Kenny Stabler.
Yeah.
You put Joe Namath up there just because the guy literally
Broadway Joe
was unbelievable at Alabama.
Yeah. And on a side note, if I'm not mistaken, one of the what's the show with the guys in Alabama, in the marshes, and what's the guy? What's that?
The Duck Show.
Yeah. What are those? Man, I'm having a brain fart. But the Duck Dynasty.
Duck Dynasty, but they're not in Alabama.
Okay. Well, they're in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Duck Dynasty. One of the older guys was on the team with Joe Namath.
Right.
He was the backup quarterback. And anyway, it's just a little trivia that I've heard.
You talking about Phil, right?
Yeah. I'm right with that.
What look like Phil, don't I?
Is it Phil or was it maybe it wasn't Joe Namath, but did he go to LSU then? If he's from Louisiana? I thought he was Alabama. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm rambling.
We'll have to look it up and bring it and figure that out.
Maybe it was Cy, one of those guys. Okay. Anyway, they played college football. Anyway, keep going. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's cool, man. We're guessing at this. This is a fling it show because of the lack of sports. So we're just trying to have some fun bantering.
So Phil Robertson played quarterback at Louisiana Tech from 1965 to 67. He made his collegiate debut.
Bradshaw. It was Bradshaw.
Yeah, it was Phil.
It was Phil, and it was Bradshaw that was ahead of him.
There you go.
Pittsburgh. I got the wrong.
You got the wrong era.
Yep, it was Terry Bradshaw that was ahead of him.
Right.
Yep.
So number 5, the guy that could it possibly be Cam Newton?
Nah. Man, he had like one of the best seasons of all time. It's hard for me to give him that honor for just.
That's fine. I have no problem with that because
it was an amazing season. It was an amazing season.
Well, we have Vince Young, right?
Yeah, we have number 1, but there's Matt Liner because we're in Texas and we can't help it.
What about Tommy?
Sorry,
well, no, but you wouldn't put Cam Newton ahead of Vince Young.
No. Not at all. Not at all.
No.
Because it was a one deal season, no.
Yeah.
No. Texas was really special that year with them. Auburn was too, but in a different,
well, Auburn went undefeated that year, if I'm not mistaken.
They did, but still.
But they couldn't play in a bowl game.
No, they won. They were national champions that year.
No, I'm talking about the year that Vince Young.
Oh, yeah.
2005.
Yeah.
I think they did run the table.
Yeah, they did. They did.
They could not go to a bowl game.
Right. They did.
Yep.
Perfection under probation, right?
Yes.
Should have made a T-shirt of that and had it ready to go, so you could go back and wear it. So
it's crazy what I remember, and I can't remember what I did yesterday, but I can remember that that Auburn went undefeated the year that UT won.
Yeah. Yeah, they had some good runs with Marshall at quarterback, for a couple seasons with the running and the passing and Cam, and they, but we're talking top 5 quarterbacks, and I'm just thinking of some of these.
Staubach's got to be in there.
I think he's number 5. He's probably in the top 3 or 4.
He's got to be
just because he put the Navy on the map, didn't he?
Well, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
They were nothing.
Yeah.
Until he got there. I mean, he's a complete difference maker.
Yeah,
across the board.
I agree. All right, so we've kind of finished the college thing, and like I said, we were ad-libbing tonight on that. So I'm sure there's a lot of people will give us a list of some great quarterbacks from college, because there's tons of them, and we've forgotten most of them, and it'd be interesting to see what people come up with, because I'm thinking right now, man, the Big Ten had some great quarterbacks.
They did.
The Pac, the Pacific.
The Pac-8 back then,
the
Pac-12.
I almost said Pac-10.
It was the Pac-8
and
for
then
a while.
then you had the Southwest Conference, which was chock full of top teams, Nebraska and Oklahoma, Texas.
That was the Big 8.
And
then they made the Big 12.
Right.
Big 8 and Southwest Conference.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So favorite, let's just quickly, for fun, because we're doing this top of our head, let's pick our top 5 best games we like, or something, any kind of sport that we watched and we could watch over and over and over. A game you could just watch over and over and over. Classic, new, whatever.
I just watched it yesterday, and it was the national championship, Texas national championship, over
and over
USC.
And over. Yeah,
I have it on tape. I have it on DVD.
They show it all the time, Donovan. Look, they show that game all the time.
With the way that the Longhorns have played in the last since 2000. Well,
it's kind of fun to go back.
2010.
It's kind of fun to go back and watch, isn't it?
Right.
Well, no, I have to have some kind of motivation.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree.
So I got a prediction. You know what, Donovan? You're going to be watching that probably for the next decade.
Nah. Todd, you do realize that you and I see each other on a weekly basis, right?
Steve, Springsteen calls those the glory days. The glory days.
Yeah. Hearns versus Hagler. I could watch that over and over and over and over.
I could watch Muhammad Ali and George Foreman.
Yes. Joe Frazier, any of those fights.
Right.
Muhammad Ali and
the Manila fight. The Manila fight. If it comes on, I'm watching it. Anything Muhammad Ali was in that you could watch, I was in.
Well,
couldn't wait.
Tyson, even the good and the bad, all the Tyson.
The ear biter guy. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah,
so anything in that realm, and the other favorite thing I like, and I guess not just one particular thing, but the thing I look forward to every year, because racing wasn't on cable, was you couldn't wait till the Indy 500 ran on Memorial Weekend on TV. That was a huge sporting event on TV. Before they split up URL and and got these different deals. Loved that. Loved it.
So when I started watching. When I watched it at some point, Rick Mears won I don't know how many years in a row.
Yeah.
And I actually lost interest because he won 3 or 4 years in a row. And I just quit watching it. I'm like, he's going to win every year.
And Foyt too, and Al Unser Jr. and those guys. But Foyt was another one that did a lot of dominating in that.
That was in the 80s, right? Like the early to mid 80s.
Even back in the 70s.
I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah.
I used to love watching the Dodgers and Yankees play every year, and for the actual.
Yeah, I was going to say
for the World Series. Yeah.
Yeah, anything in World Series, especially if it was Yankees or Dodgers or St. Louis or those teams that were always mixing it up for the World Series, were unbelievable things to watch on TV. You couldn't wait till the baseball playoffs got the World Series because it was so different back then. Cincinnati with Johnny Bench and Joe Morgan and Bob Gibson for the Cardinals. And I mean, you're talking about Bob Gibson used to throw the ball at the batters and say, if you're going to crowd the plate, you're going to get your head knocked off. And I'm going to show you how I do it. And people were scared of him. That was fun baseball back then. Yeah, so I'm just saying, I grew up on that. Boog Pals for Baltimore. So I love specific games. I can't tell you any because they were raw. There was so much great games back then, and with the Mickey Mantles and all those guys playing, you know, and Al Killebrew and all those guys, right? The Alou brothers. Do you remember any of these people I'm mentioning? No,
I don't
not a clue.
know. I don't know them.
Orlando Cepeda.
Cepeda, I've heard of
Hank
Cepeda.
Aaron. Yeah.
Oh, Hank. Oh, I know.
Ron
I know.
Say, the Penguin, all these guys, man, I couldn't wait. As a kid, you just didn't have cable. And so to kind of explain this to you guys was you were limited to broadcast on the major TV stations at a certain time. They had the game of the week or the game.
I remember that completely.
You know what I'm saying? And so you had to, if you missed it, you didn't get to see any sports, you know?
Well,
So
Wide World of Sports was all the sports.
Wide World of Sports was great, man.
Literally, that was, you watched, they had.
And you know what you remember about Wide World of Sports was the intro when the poor skier fell in.
Oh, man.
And the tragedy of defeat. Boom.
I hope that cat is a millionaire because they played it so many times. He deserved at least $1 every time.
It's a dime. Just in the agony of defeat.
Yes.
I mean, I couldn't have picked and everybody go, ooh, that had to hurt a little. My other favorite games to watch was the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics back when they were both powerhouses in their division. John Havlicek's and those guys, and Earl Monroe,
Earl the Pearl, Monroe,
and Walt Frazier, and those and Dan. I forgot the other shooter they had tons, but anyhow, forgotten half the names. But I love those games, especially when they're in the playoffs against each other. It was like every year they seem to be facing each other, so that was cool. So Todd, what sports? What game? What did you enjoy? What kind of sports did you enjoy, or what game brought you back to?
He liked watching football.
Yeah, I like Smash Mouth football.
And you like classic stuff. You'll go to classic and watch old games over, right? Because there's some great stuff on classic.
Yeah, I mean, I can sit there and I can watch like boxing, old boxing matches.
Oh yeah, all day long. All day long.
It's like something weird about me. I just sit there and I can watch it and just I never get tired of it. And I mean, old UFC fights. It's like thank God for YouTube. I mean, it's like hours of endless entertainment watching UFC fights.
Yeah, we live in a consumption day where you can go out and get reclips and watch sports all day long on you know what else? Never mind. It's no show.
I'm also like a huge fan of like the big ones, from NASCAR, like all the wipeouts, and I mean I can like sit there and watch car wrecks all day.
Yeah, you can go back and watch Talladega and Daytona like all day long and restrictor plate racing and just wait for the big one in the last 10 laps, right?
I'll sit there and rewind it and watch it again. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's a wonder that more don't die in that.
It's pretty amazing how safe those cars are built. It really is. All right, guys. So, anything else?
No. I want to say this. College football is trying to open back up.
They're trying.
Teams are reporting. They've had some COVID cases. My Longhorns, the last time I checked, had 13 cases, and they've quarantined a lot of roommates and everything else. I guess Clemson had 20-something.
All right, so I got a question for you, right? I mean, if this flu, right, isn't really that bad, I mean, why are we making such a big deal out of this? I mean, why can't we have our sports back? Because, I mean, if anybody's not going to have any kind of damage, it's going to be these athletes that are, in peak physical condition and they're young. I mean, it's not like we're watching geriatric sports. I mean, why are we even worried about athletes getting the flu?
Well, what you're looking at is the team that everybody gets it and gets over it and doesn't have to worry about it for the rest of the season is probably going to win a national championship. That starts out in the top 15. That's
Well,
what
now,
it is.
you know, I understand if you're like Bill Belichick or Andy Reid, you know, you got to stop eating them double meat burgers. You know, you probably don't need to get it. But as far as, you know, athletes getting sick, I mean, out of all of us, they're probably the ones that are best capable of handling it and recovering quickly.
Well, let me tell you this. I can only speak personally. I can't speak for opinions and what other people think, but I'm 65. I'm in that age group. I don't have anything underlying that they know of. But I will tell you, I don't live in fear. You know what I'm saying? I've got to make a living, and I've got and make money and be there for my clients. And you know what? I'm careful, but I'm not going to sit at home and be told that I can't go out and do something.
Well,
Just not going to happen.
You got like the winning trifecta, you know. I mean, you're trim, you're good looking, and you're smart. You know, it's like nothing's going to take you down.
I agree. Thank you. See, that's not true.
This show turned quick.
That's not true. And you probably just jinxed my ass, and I'm going to come haunt you if you did.
Exotic Todd shows up again.
What we say around here is that exotically. You know, we say exotically.
Todd, who knows? You know, I would say 50% of the people are scared to death in this world, and the other 50% want to go out and do their thing. And you know what? I don't know where humans ever thought that they could stop a virus, but okay. You know, I mean, I understand they're making a vaccine, and I understand they're trying to slow something down. But you know, I mean, these things are going to run their course no matter what happens.
This isn't
one way or the other. One way or the other.
There's going to be more.
Yeah, there is.
No, there are certain countries that they have the
ability.
I'm going to go out and I'm going to say something that isn't going to make a lot of people happy, but I think our society has already been like infected with the stupidity virus. You know what I mean? Because we've lost all of our knowledge about how to deal with the flu and, you know, what it is.
Ron White would agree with you.
So I want to end. This is the last thing I'm going to say today. But this is what I tell.
Okay, and then the show's over. Okay.
No,
fine.
no, not necessarily. I'm just saying. This is what I tell my parents. This is what I tell my kids. This is what I tell my friends. Use your common sense. It's not. There's no formula on this. Use your common sense.
I like that.
Period.
That's a T-shirt, baby. That's a T-shirt.
I'm just telling you. Use your
some
common
people
sense.
would tell
with
you
the
that
media,
common sense isn't
with
so
anything
common anymore.
Well, I'm just saying, when it comes to media, when it comes to everything that you're dealing with this day and age, is step back. And I know everybody lives vicariously. I say vicariously lives. Whatever living room you're sitting in is how you perceive things. But use your common sense. Period.
Yeah, and the choices you make are your choices.
Absolutely.
It's called taking on your own responsibility as you see it with common sense. Great point. Great point.
And my second thing that I tell my kids and everybody is, if something doesn't seem right, it's not.
It's not.
No, it's not.
It's not. You're right.
If you walk into a room and something doesn't seem right, something's not right.
That's right.
If you're doing something and you go, this doesn't seem right, it's not right. It comes back to common sense, but if something doesn't seem right, it's not.
I agree. 100%.
Period.
Good point. Good point. Good thought.
So,
all right, guys. So we kind of had fun tonight on a recap of kind of getting into a little bit of the top 10 top pro quarterbacks. I think we did a fairly good job. Be interesting to see what people say or don't say about that. I think we did a fairly decent job on college in the sense that, you know, kind of relative new guys, right, that we were aware of. And I think we did okay there. And I think going back and discussing some things we've watched in the past, you know, just as our favorite stuff was kind of cool. I hadn't heard anybody really talk about that, but it'd be interesting maybe next week to come back and on the show and tell us the exact one game or one sport thing that you just will watch over and over and over. It's your favorite one. If there was no other sports and you could have a copy of that thing, this would be what it was.
Or listen to.
Yeah, because back then it was a lot of listen to. So
yeah,
we'll
yes, I have that there. But yes,
Herdy, before we wrap this up, will you two give me an update? I mean, where are we at on NFL season, and where are we at with MLB?
Well, okay, so MLB officially today, I heard that they're going to start spring training officially on July 1st. And then July 23rd, they're going to start the season. Okay. I think it's going to be 50 games. I think the players union and the owners came to some, some negotiated compromises on that. The NFL, but here's the thing, Todd, it depends on the spread of this thing that's being back in the media again, right? All you're hearing is about this COVID-19, and you know darn well that all this could change tomorrow, just based on, so it depends how much, it just depends. And, these universities and the NFL and all these guys are going to.
I'm just like beside myself because, the reality is that so many people's lives, whether they're professionals or amateurs, much of our society is affected by not seeing our favorite teams out there, and the owners.
It's a morale thing too, because it's part of what is our American heritage, is to have seasons of sports, right? Yeah. Like baseball for summer, so families can go and hang out the stadiums, and NBA and hockey and
you think about the
giving
barbecues.
People, entertainment is an outlet. It's an outlet for stress. It's a place to go hang out and talk to friends and get away from work. And now all you do is sit at home.
Yeah,
right. Exactly. After you go to work,
Hey, you see my dog? You see my dog right there?
Yeah, he's laying with his head in the bowl.
Yeah. Right. So I've been feeding her, and then she fell asleep with her head in the food bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
And the same thing's happening to me. I
know the feeling.
On the couch, and I'm falling asleep, with my head on the plate.
Right.
I'm just saying, it's like I got to get back outside because I'm getting fat. My dog's getting fat, and we're like running out of things to do and stay entertained.
I agree with you 100%. I think still stuff is going to be, is going to all depend on how much they keep talking this COVID-19 up with all these new spikes, and how people, it's going to make people think twice about getting started quickly. And I'm not so sure. I'm hoping college football comes. I'm hoping they do the NFL, but who knows? I'm hoping they got a plan, because they need to play, because next year, my fear is that the regular flu technically could be used the same way.
Yeah.
Well,
they could say, well, it's flu season starting next year in October. Get your flu shot, but you need to start wearing your mask and your plastic visors now, and because people are going to die from it. My fear is you've got a bunch of people out there that are going to take advantage of that. Really. So who knows?
Yeah, every year, influenza kills people every year, and it always has. We're looking at the flu +1. So I think people need to wake up and get back to like living a normal life. And hey, if you're at risk, stay home. But we don't need to kill sports. We don't need to kill the economy to try to prolong anybody's life. If you're at risk, stay home. And the rest of us just need to get back to normal life and normal sports and normal entertainment and going out to dinner and, leading, the lives that we lead.
The PGA's done a pretty good job. They came back and they're playing, and there's some entertaining golf if you like golf. There's been 2 good tournaments. The Hilton one last week was really good, and So they're doing it, you know, I mean, they're out there playing regardless, and it's an outdoor sport. They're being precautions, but they're using that common sense Donovan talks about, and at least it's something, it's a comeback to show it can be done, right? NASCAR's done a fairly good job with it till all this crap this weekend, but you know.
Yeah. And UFC has done a great job.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, it is a whole different ball game when you can hear the punches and the corner talking. It is actually, to me, almost as entertaining, if not more, than the crowd, because you hear so much more of what's going on.
And you know what? You just brought up a point that what this virus thing has done, and that is even noticed it on PGA Tour. They're starting to realize they can have a whole offshoot like on Zoom or some of these live streaming channels with people mic'd up on the broadcast, you know what I'm saying, and kind of put them in a little box up there and interview them during the game and interview them after a certain play. I think that is going to be a very cool part of sports, right?
Yeah.
Well, is when the quarterback comes back to the sideline and you listen to him saying how he saw that play and how, you know, that's cool stuff. So,
but anybody that's ever been in a fist fight, you don't have a crowd cheering. No, it's pretty intimate.
No,
I'm just saying it's a very intimate thing when you're fighting somebody.
You're right.
And you're hearing the punches and you're feeling the punches, and you're talking to each other, and you're not having the cheering section going on. And it's you know, you have your buddies in the back, whoop his butt. And that's the trainer trying to tell you that, you know, that you see the two trainers.
Yeah, I like
it's so much more intimate.
I like the interactivity, and I like the fact that they're starting to add chat into these live broadcasts, you know, so people can put their opinions on a play or a call or something like that. And so everything that the YouTube TV, the slings, these big entertainment portals, you know, these apps that you can watch on your big screen TVs today are becoming so automated and interactive that it's going to change how we see and look at sports in the years to come, right?
Sure.
You might see every player wired on a team. Sure. Every baseball player coming to the plate, maybe talking, you'll hear him say hi to the catcher, and, you know, he looks good tonight. And you may hear him talking trash back to the pitcher, you know. I mean, all this stuff goes on, you know.
Yeah, that's what I liked about
the guys jogging down the first base. What do they always say when they get to first base? I'm always curious about what does he say, you know. I mean, those are the kind of things that I'm looking really forward to seeing, because I think that will keep people engaged in otherwise what could be a pretty boring sport, right? Baseball can be hard to watch unless you've played it and you understand it. But if you can get some microphones on some guys and hear them talking between each other and what they're going to set up for that just would be huge. Make a difference.
I agree.
All right, cool. Well, guys, it's like 8:30. We've been over an hour tonight.
We did. We went farther than I thought, huh?
I think it's awesome. That's what friends do, you know.
That's right.
And we'll get Smooth Dave back on here next week. So, guys, any final thoughts?
No. Everybody be safe.
Okay,
yes, sir.
Guys, thanks for joining us and listening to the Internet Sports Broadcast Network. We're here every Wednesday night. We put up our recording or on-demand podcast on Thursday, Fridays. You guys have a great evening. Good night, Donovan. Good night, Todd.
Later, Hurdy.
See you guys later. Bye.